In the court system, it is expected that there should be a proper administration of justice, where an individual is found innocent or guilty of a crime. Theoretically, this should be done by being as objective as possible with the proper use of logic and critical thinking. Like it or not, however, humans are riddled with bias, and that bias can sometimes reach the court as well, leading to false convictions. Cognitive bias is an error in logical thinking and is created through an individual's own experiences, observations, opinions, or emotions. This makes an individual have assumptions or interpretations due to pre-existing beliefs before or during the analysis of information. Understanding where bias can occur in the court system is important to maintain the integrity of the administration of justice, and actions can be made in order to create preventative measures to reduce bias from occurring in all parts of the court system. Confirmation bias refers to the gathering or interpretation of information in ways that are biased towards current beliefs, expectations, or concepts. Commonly used in psychology research, it can very well affect the results of a forensic analysis, depending on the examiner. For instance, there are two factors: the prior belief that the suspect is guilty or innocent, and the relative importance they attach themselves to convincing themselves of the suspect's guilt. This can occur with the inclusion of contextual bias, where extraneous influences cause experts to subconsciously develop certain expectations of an evidence analysis. For a forensic examiner, providing them with information that is more than necessary to conduct an analysis of evidence can affect their judgment by creating pre-existing beliefs. These extraneous influences can come from many different sources, such as the media.
Police officers in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, were asking people to be on the lookout for a man who robbed a store. And I think we do have his description. Can we take that? Let's take his description. Okay.
Talking about a case with friends, being told details of a case from an investigator, or even by simply communicating with other forensic examiners working on the same case. These interactions create subtle suggestions that can contaminate an examiner's mind. In a study done by Jor and Charlton in 2006, forensic fingerprint examiners were given prints of a fake case, and were told contextual information of the case, such as showing them images of the victim, telling them the suspect confessed or that the suspect was already in custody. This introduction of contextual information caused the forensic fingerprint examiners to make the incorrect decision 16.6% of the time when evaluating the prints. Implicit bias is the result of the brain's tendency to simplify the world by using shortcuts and stereotypes. Implicit bias is a form of bias that occurs automatically and unintentionally from judgments, decisions, and behaviors. In the case of Peña Rodriguez v. Colorado, after the conviction of Peña Rodriguez, jurors reported that two of the jurors made racially biased comments, stating Mexican men had a bravado that caused them to believe that they could do whatever they wanted with women, and 9 times out of 10, Mexican men were guilty of being aggressive towards women. He also stated that the defendant's alibi witness was not credible because the witness was an illegal. The case was then brought to the Supreme Court and was ruled that if the juror made a clear statement that indicated that he or she had relied on racial stereotypes to convict a criminal defendant, that there has to be a showing that one or more jurors have made statements exhibiting racial bias that can cast doubt on the impartiality and fairness of the resulting verdict. The best way to prevent bias from entering courtrooms is to address problems with standardization, reliability, accuracy, and error which have the potential to contribute to bias. In 2009, the National Academy of Science, or NAS, reported that disciplines needed to develop rigorous protocols to guide these subjective interpretations and pursue equally rigorous research and evaluation programs. One way to minimize bias from occurring is the use of multiple analysts who independently analyze evidentiary samples to check if the results are consistent and as a means of verification. The National Institute of Standards and Technology has introduced potential changes in the workflows of forensic analysts to minimize contextual bias. One approach is the use of a case manager who acts as a proxy to prevent analysts from knowing unnecessary information. In this method, there are case managers who work in a forensic lab and are the only individuals fully informed of the logistics of a case. They are tasked with the job of distributing evidence for analysts to analyze and to only provide them with evidence that is task relevant. Another method is sequential unmasking, a procedure that is used in forensic labs in the Netherlands. Forensic analysts are only provided evidentiary samples of a case and are told no details of the case during their analysis of evidence, and are only told details of a case well after their reports have been recorded. Making changes to the workflow in forensic labs with the use of sequential unmasking and case managers, the spreading of contextual bias can be kept to a minimum. Use of increased verification can prevent biased reports from reaching the courtroom, which can potentially lead to a false conviction and can help identify errors. Additionally, an increased vetting process for jurors and the removal of jurors who have shown to be biased will help maintain the impartiality of the court system and rulings.